I'd like to welcome everybody to the Coaches in the Mouth pod. This is Coach Jeff Williams along with Coach Darryl Pimple and the Mouth Brent Bender. Guys, before we get into it, let's thank our sponsors and partnerships. This show is powered by Lindsay and Associate, All-American Steakhouse in Springdale, and the Pigs brand. Well, guys, let's get into it. Week one's in the books. What a lot of great games. Darryl, let's recap what'd you learn this week?
Well, we learned that some people, like we've been talking all year long about the East in 3A, if you get on the wrong side, you get matched up pretty quickly. Got a huge matchup this week. We're going to see Newport and Mansfield. Last week, I was impressed with Arkadelphia coming out. Bryson McCoy had 6 touchdowns total. On the offensive side of the ball, I think they're really, really good. Big play. Arkadelphia's been there too. I think they're going to make a run here. Elkin's impressed with them this week as they scored in all 3 phases. Had a punt return, they had a pick 6, and they scored on offense at will. Looks like they've gotten a little healthy too. The Walden kid's back, gives them that other dimension too, and they've got those guys on the outside. Coach Watson's got those guys running.
Well, Matthew, you were down at Searcy. You got to see Camden, Fairview, and Harding Academy, one of our big game of the week last week. What was your thoughts? And the Fighting Vaughns went to Searcy, took care of business.
The Fighting Vaughns their athletes just won the game. They just out-athleted Harding Academy. Harding Academy made crucial mistakes when they didn't need to make them. Camden Fairview, scored 2 defensive touchdowns in the second quarter, one on a 50-yard fumble recovery, and another one, Owen Miller fumbles the ball, or the quarterback for Harding Academy fumbles the ball in the end zone. So, and they fall on it. So it's a recipe for disaster against the Cardinals. if you're going to turn the ball over, I don't care how many yards.
Yeah, and Coach Vaughn's got the Fighting Vaughns. He's got them playing really good there at Fairview, and we'll talk about them a little bit later on. My recap a little bit. I was real impressed with my hometown. Pocahontas driving all the way from Northeast Arkansas down to Nashville, getting a big win against the Scrappers, a tough place to play. Great job of Coach Casey Chester and their bunch. Hey, how about Malvern and Pottsville? Coach Johnny Fogelman pulls it out, 1-point win. They're just sliding by, but at the end of the day, as you win by 1, you move on to the next round. But some fascinating matchups, and we'll get into it a little bit later on. I think this week, probably the best 7A second-round matchups we've had in years, and we'll get into that. Darryl, let's get into
Here's the most important part, too.
Yeah.
We're running into the second round, and we've got some coaches that are still working. Some are cleaning up. Some are cleaning laundry today, and some are watching tape. All right, which ones do you want to be? That's next week's tune of the tape too.
That is true. We need to make this statement to all the fans that go to the games. Your coach is working for free. He's contracted for 10 months. So before you get mad or you yell at a call, this guy's working for free, and the ones next week, they're working on their vacation for free. So, hey, let's lift up our coaches out there. And, they're volunteering and get paid a little bit, but they're working free this week. So it ought to be interesting. All right, Darryl, let's get into your top 6, small school top 6.
Top school, top 6. Here we go. Also, we got our Prescott, Carly Woods, Prater, Dwayne White. Counted Prater had 3 touchdowns last week against Quitman in a blowout game. Rested up some guys defensively, played extremely solid again, still only giving up about 13 points a game there at Prescott. Also, Rivercrest, Cavante Washington doing Cavante Washington things, as my man Mouth would say. He threw for, he's over 2,500 yards of total offense. Buda Harris is almost over 1,000 yards. And we got this new cat, this Jaden Young guy. We're starting to throw it to him a little bit. Yeah. We got some more weapons in the fold. And how about our Murfreesboro Rattlers?
I saw
the Rattlers are coming, man. They're coming. They had 182 yards from the Witcher kid on the ground. Maroon had Maroon had another 99-yard on 20 carries. How about Fordyce? Another also. Jesseville gets run into Fordyce. It was a good season, Jesseville. It was a good season. Good season because the Red Bugs are for real. 11-0 now in the year. Mansfield, it's all about the Burtons and Strozer. Mansfield's just rolling along there. The Burton boys, Sam Burton has 868 yards rushing. Daniel Burton has 1,300 yards rushing.
I know.
Andrew Burton, they combined for almost 2,000, almost 2,500 yards between the 3 guys. And, of course, Dardanelle had the week off. got a little healthy. I'm sure Vega got a couple IVs because he's going to need it. He's got 4,000 yards of total offense. Finkbinder went over 100 tackles for Dardanelle. During the bye week, he was just tackling people around the house, trying to get loose there. So Dardanelle sneaks into our also list. Number 6 is going to come in Bismarck.
Yeah.
Bismarck's going to come in at number 6. The Keithleys, they're all over the place defensively. We'll see big-time plays from them this week. Number 5 is going to be Carlisle. They bump up a spot. Huge game with the Junction this week. See if Ty Tankersley can keep it rolling there on the offensive side. A huge matchup for them this week. They played in week 2. It was 41-20 in the old Carlisle home turf. That's when we figured out. Do you know that Junction City has 7 kids that are over 300 pounds?
Jeez,
they have a kid that's 6'4", 400 pounds. All right? If he doesn't have a future in football, he's got one in the WWE. I mean, that guy's got a chance to shine there. Huge game for them. OCL is going to roll in at number 4. Tyler Bell, quarterback. Jeremiah Jacobs, the running back. Got a great scheme defensively. Jacobs actually leads them in tackles, too, with 65 on the year, almost 1,000 yards rushing. They're really solid on defense. Like I said, they got that big giant blow up, too. They get to play home games, too. That Seminole stays up the whole entire time. Number 3 is going to be Arkadelphia. The Badgers are hot at the right time. They have figured it out offensively. Like I said, McCoy accounted for 6 touchdowns last week against Ozark. Warren, because it's playoff time.
Uncle Bo.
It's playoff time. Lumberjacks are going to roll in at number 2, 7-0 in league play. Cameron Burke, Antonio Jordan. We know all about those guys. Elkins is going to remain number 1. They have all year long. You got to beat the man to be the man. They're averaging 48 points a game, giving up 7.
Yeah.
That's what we forget about Elkins. They're actually giving up 7 points a game on defense. Walden's back at full speed, too. Ben Napier's playing phenomenal. Like I said, they scored in all 3 phases last week. So the Elks they're rolling. They're rolling right now.
Well, let's go to our big school.
Big school. We got a bunch in the Alsos here, man, because we got some people that are hot.
Yeah.
Right? Probably the hottest team in the Alsos is Joe T. Robinson.
Yes, sir.
Those guys have figured it out. I mean, Braden's come on at quarterback there. He's got some weapons on the outside, playing really well and clean. They ain't turning the ball over. They can run it when they want to. They can run it when you know they're going to run it. That's what's funny about those cats. They're only giving up 13 points on the defensive side of the football. They're playing extremely well. Farmington last week gets an also run, too. Lester was over 211 yards of total offense. Fayetteville getting Garrett Odom in the bye week's probably going to help them. They got a huge game this week. We'll talk about later on. Lakeside, Rockwell's got them. That's a big, huge game with them. The Oman kids almost over 1,700 yards rushing on the year. Rogers, which is phenomenal right now. Jeff Reagan, if he's not the best player in that league, I don't know what is, because that guy has accounted for over 3,000 yards of total offense. And most of it's been with his legs, which is really, really impressive. And they got some dudes. Valley View continues running the football well, playing defense. They're only giving up 11 points a game on the defensive side. I think the biggest sleeper, too, we talked about a little bit last week, getting some also, Pulaski Academy.
Yeah.
Hey, did you check it out where he moved some freshmen up?
Yeah.
I told you somebody was going to do it.
I saw it.
Somebody was going to do it. So he's got some weapons he added to that.
And I think one of them might be Coach Register's grandson.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
I'll have to check on that though.
Yeah. He's got some weapons. He moved up over the break there. The biggest one is Rashawn Mitchell. Played a little tailback for him, broke one for about 55 yards. Extremely fast. Fairview's rolling, getting great quarterback play. Got a big, huge home run hitter in Will Hinton. Morrilton. Come on.
Man. Hey, we got to give them a shout out. I mean, the Farmington game, then we had, had a little letdown here or there, and they played well. And Coach McNabb, he's got them turned around, and they beat a hot Searcy team. I mean, Zach and them were coming there playing really well. And let's talk about it. Played really well on defense.
Yes, they finally did play a little well on defense. I mean, they attack you offensively down the field better than anybody ever represented. Of course, you got 3 dudes on the outside. Yeah. And a quarterback that's thrown for almost 3,500 yards. I mean, his stats are up there with like Lindsey and them from last year. He's over 48 touchdowns in the year. Maddox Berry has, and he's got Morrilton rolling. Number 6.
Here we go.
Number 6, Bentonville.
Yeah.
Bentonville's figured it out, settled at quarterback. Trevor Grant's played really well for him, over 1,877 yards. He can run a little bit for about 400 yards, 22 touchdowns. Coach's kid, he's done a really, really good job.
Hey, how about this one? They get a bye week and they get the same team they played week 10, and it's a crosstown rival this week at Bentonville West. Happened to me one time against Northside. We still won the game again, so that's probably going to go down. But that's what a draw.
But like Bentonville West can score.
Yeah, they can. And Coach Pratt's kind of got them. Everybody, they're having a bad year, and he's kind of got them going a little bit.
They can score they can score with them. Number 5 is going to come on to Conway, because we've got so much uncertainty in Conway right now, whether the quarterback's going to play or not. 46 points a game. They're averaging. Can their defense get to the Reagan and Rogers? They'll do a lot of empty stuff, and they run that guy all over the place. So it'll be an interesting matchup defensively for Conway. And then, I remember about 2 years ago, Rogers playing at Conway with all these kids being sophomores and just getting mollywopped by halftime. It was over. So if I was coach, I'd throw that in there. So let's see if the Wampus Cats bounce back after the bye week 2. Number 4, Benton. Benton is rolling, 46 points. You think they might have got healthy during the bye week. Defense is playing really well.
Yeah.
Maddox Davis has over 900 yards receiving. It doesn't matter who they play at quarterback. They're actually running the ball a little bit with the Tucker kid now, so it gives them another dimension there. Really strong up front. Number 3 is going to be Parkview. Just keep rolling. Explosive play after explosive play. They went 42-10 over Wynn. Coach Toddy did a great job trying to keep the ball away from them, but man, the one slip up, one punt, it can be over in a heartbeat. Cameron Settles a home run hitter. They're really, really solid offensively. I'll tell you where they've gotten better at their offensive line.
Yes.
Look at week 2 to now, their offensive line is improved a great deal. Emmanuel Bunning gives them that ability to throw it down the field. He hit Jace White last week for a 47-yard touchdown, so they can take the top off of the defense. Number 2, Greenwood comes in. They're averaging 56 points. Archer. I mean, it's unbelievable. Champ Davis on the outside. Their offensive line is really good. Defense is getting better and better. You want to talk about fast, man. They got some fast cats on the defensive side of the football. Archer's over almost 3,600 yards of total offense. He's over 50 touchdowns on the year. In our number 1 team, still Bryant. Bryant's going to roll in, averaging 51 points a game. Jordan Walker's well over 2,600 yards of total offense himself. Like we said last week against Conway, I think they've kind of taken the strings off that guy and letting him run a little bit. He is a load back there too. So Bryant's going to remain in our 1 spot.
Well, I like your top 6. I mean, right there, Benton's been playing really well, even overcome injuries. Parkview does what they do. Greenwood's a machine, and Bryant is a distance from everybody right now. The question is how Conway going to bounce back after getting beat by Bryant? We'll talk about that in a bye week. But Elkins is taking care of Uncle Bo. Got a big matchup with the Redskins this week, buddy, making our first trip down to Warren, man. So we'll see how that goes. Well,
how long of a trip is that?
It's going to take a little while, guys. We're going to leave on Tuesday. Going to stop off probably at Searcy, do a walk through, practice in Little Rock, stop off at Pine Bluff, then head on in for a pregame meal. Probably that's the way that's going to go down. But Uncle Bo is getting hot at the right times, but love your list.
No school for the Redskins Friday, then, correct?
I'm sure we've got enough sense to call school off. Surely so.
Okay.
But anyway, we're not, obviously week 10, so with player of the week, but we had some big performances. Daryl, let's recognize some of those big performances this week.
Goodness gracious, you had a ton of them. Probably the biggest one on that night was your Redskins.
Yes, sir.
Coffee, 48 carries. God, 48 carries, 268 yards, never came off the field because he plays defense too.
That's right. That's why we roll.
That's how they grow them in Pocahontas.
That's right, man.
Yeah,
that's right.
Just Iron Man football.
Hey, even the band went down to Nashville. We took everybody down there, man. It was awesome. Yeah,
that's what you gotta like it. There's 2 reasons. Maybe that some people weren't real sure we were going to win that. Some parents like, hey, I don't know if we believe in the Redskins right now. All right, but that's pretty awesome. That's the way to go. That's what we talked about last year. River Coats, River Coats. We're taking everybody.
Yeah,
I mean, some of these Junction City, you don't think Junction City could get robbed? They're going to Carlisle. I mean, geez.
What else we got? We got any other big performances?
There was several. The McCoy kid from Arkadelphia, 6 total touchdowns. He could throw it, run it, and that guy's just a sophomore, which is really, really scary because I think they're just figuring out that he's a really, really special dude. Tankersley threw 2 touchdowns last week, ran for 1 at Carlisle. We had some big performances. I think we also had some get right games.
Yeah,
where we could shut some people down and get ready for the second round.
Yeah,
that's what we had.
You saw a lot of that this week, and obviously, well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest picker, our Lindsay Associated guest, future Hall of Famer. Needs no introduction. Former head coach at Harbor Wildcats, former state champion, Shiloh, Harvard, and everywhere else he's probably been. Welcome to the show. Let's bring on Chris Wood. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Man, we appreciate it. Well, let's get into this, and I asked you before we get into all these picks. Let's try to jump to 7A because you're real familiar with that, 7A West and that division. You coached in it for years and involved in it. This second round matchup games are more interesting than they have been years past. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is some really good quality teams playing, of course. I think you get to that PA Fayetteville game. It's a really unique one. Explosive, a lot of points can be scored. A little bit. Kicking game is going to be a big deal in that one. I think it's going to kind of separate it. I think you got a really unique one up there in Bentonville with West getting another shot. Just shoot a week removed from playing each other.
Well, let me ask you: have you ever been in that situation? Because I know y'all didn't play Springdale, but you always played week 6 or 7 during the season. Did you ever have a situation where you had a bye and came back and boom, you got the same, team you played earlier? Or?
No, I mean, the biggest thing closest we ever got is back when we played. We'd usually play week 8 or 9, and then we'd have to deal with each other in the quarters or semis when you're South Side. And then same thing with Bentonville. Usually we're running back, 10 years ago, we're running into each other somewhere in the second or the semifinals but not as quick as Bentonville's going to have to turn around. And, it'll be a great atmosphere up there. It'll be good. It'll be exciting. And then, I think that Rogers at Conway, Conway coming off of probably what they didn't envision happening to them at Bryant. And then you got to come back and you're going to get a really good athletic Rogers team where Harbison always seems like he finds the next Johnny Manziel and puts him at quarterback. So let's see what happens. That dude is he's a special talent for sure. And Harbison's just an outstanding ball coach. And then, anytime you get Cabot and Reed, he's always going to have a great game plan. Even though he's seen Bryant won, goes back into that deal again. There's going to be a pound and grind. He used the passing game to beat Springdale. His receivers made plays for him. So I think, that's good, being able to diversify here in the playoffs, being able to have that balance. And he showed that last week. So I think all 4 are really unique matchups. And it's just good coaches, good ball, good communities, good ball.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, usually you get the second round matchups. It's kind of distance, but there's a lot of good ones. All right, guys, let's get to it. Heading down to Carlisle, Arkansas. This is a rematch, Daryl. We got Junction City at Carlisle, and Carlisle Tankersley's been the guy, man. They've been rolling. I really like those guys a lot. Junction City's been up and down. Boom. They take your cross county. Already been there before. We got to match up again. Daryl, break this down. What's it look like right now here in week 2 of the playoffs?
They met in week 2 at Carlisle, and it was a 41-20 loss for Junction City. And that's when they were really kind of struggling, especially at the quarterback spot. They couldn't figure it out. And the dude cramped. And remember, that was the cramp game. The poor guy cramped up the entire game. He would run an 80-yard touchdown, cramp up. So it was crazy there. Like I said, they are big on the defensive and offensive line, especially Junction. I mean, they're big any classification. I mean, they're some big dudes. They can get after the quarterback too, and that's probably going to be the biggest thing for Junction City this week is to try to get after Tankersley because he was just dropping bombs on them in the first game, and he can do that. He had 2 touchdown passes last week against Hector, and he ran for 1, 2. Jaden Elliott had 2 touchdowns for Carlisle. They're only giving up 12 points a game on defense. That's the biggest thing. They don't turn it over, even though they're not your daddy Carlisle anymore, or they're running inside, handoffs all day long. They're throwing bombs on people. So they're 11-0. They're playing at home. Man, this is a lawn chair game. You're going to have people from all over the place. Nick's barbecue's going to be just.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have truckers pulling off watching the game. I mean, they're going to go to the game right over the barbecue plate there. So this is a huge game. Like I said, you couldn't get a better second round game, I don't think, anywhere in this one. But I'm going to take Carlisle. Carlisle, stick with Carlisle, especially at home.
Yeah. Math, you've been over seeing Coach Wilson. You've met Mr. Tankersley. You've seen a few practices over there, but you're familiar with Junction City also. Break this one down for us.
Well, Junction City has been like the stock market, up and down all year. Hopefully they're getting better. But I got to say this. I think the Carlisle Bison have got too much firepower and too much great atmosphere next Friday night. How great is it to be at the ball game and be able to smell Nick's barbecue coming through the air? Nachos. What more? And I just think Carlisle with young Mr. Tankersley is just playing at a phenomenal level, and I see Carlisle winning this game.
Like Carlisle. Coach Wood, this is an interesting matchup. So we just talked about it, having teams you might have played non-conference, and then you're catching them in the playoffs. Break this down for us, Coach.
Yeah, of course, two tradition-rich programs in the second round's unique to see. And but I know one thing: when you get into the second round and beyond, I love offense. I'm an offensive guy, but defense gets you to War Memorial, just the bottom line. And what Carlisle's doing on defense, I think that gives them the edge between a really good matchup in Junction City and Carlisle. So I'm going to go with Carlisle because, like I said, defense travels in the playoffs.
It sure does. Okay, we had Coach Lunny on last week. Everybody had a good defense. That's who he took.
Yeah, he liked defense.
Exactly. All right, Daryl, we're heading down to Western Arkansas here. We got Newport, who is in the obviously toughest conference in 3A, at Mansfield, who we've loved all year long. Man, what a great matchup here in the second round. This is sad. One of them's got to go home.
That's what happens. That's what happens now, man. It's the loser leave town here. Newport's going to travel to Mansfield. Mansfield's had they beat Boonville and they beat Boonville the Boonville way. Like I said, the Burton boys, they have got Daniel Burton's got 1,373 yards on the ground, 18 touchdowns. Andrew Burton, 858 yards on the ground, 8 touchdowns. Sam Burton, 58 carries for 600 yards and 9 touchdowns. They've combined for almost 40 touchdowns between the three dudes. They're also their leading tacklers too. They've added this guy, freshman, big play guy, Trayshawn Powell. Trayshawn's averaging 16 yards a touch. He's got 19 carries for 309 yards. Run a bunch of sweep stuff with him. Scored against Boonville down there late in that game. He has 6 touchdowns. So they got some big play. This is our right guard, James Boston.
That's right.
Yeah, he's a mauler. He's a mauler. We're running right behind this guy. This guy's a mauler there. All right, but they're going to have their hands full because guess what? You get to see Newport and all the speed. All the speed's coming your way. Newport travels well. They beat McGee last week, 54-18. Keandre Barker had 18 carries for 197 yards and 3 touchdowns. His longest run was 84 yards. Popped one there for him. Dimitri Denton, they threw it a little bit last week. He caught 4 passes for 104 yards. He had a 38-yard touchdown himself. Just speed all over the field from Newport. The biggest thing is Mansfield can't turn it over. They're going to have to stay in front of the chains on first downs too. Make it a short night offensively for Newport because as soon as they get it, I don't know if you even try to punt it to them either because they can score in all phases of the game. I think Newport travels to Mansfield, and I think Newport's going to win this one.
Like the Greyhounds. All right, Matthew, you've been overseeing Coach Reardon and the Greyhounds, and you're familiar with Mansfield. We love Coach Overton, the job he's done. What a matchup here in the second round.
Oh, it's worth the $7 you pay to go watch it.
$5.
You're going to see. 5. I thought it went up to 8 for playoffs.
Well, I don't know. Probably somebody's doing something.
Cashless, man. It's cash.
Yeah.
But this is a great second round matchup right here. I just think being the great prognosticator that I am, I think Newport's got too much team speed for them. I think it'll be a close. I think it'll be a tight game, but Mr. Barker's got the type of game that travels well.
Yeah,
nobody's been able to stop him all year.
You like the Greyhounds, Coach Wood? Interesting, different styles here make fights, and Mansfield. They've done it. They've beaten Booneville. They've beaten Charleston. They've played some tough non-conference. Newport's been the toughest league over there with Rivercrest and Osceola, and got a great football team. This should be a great game.
Yeah, I mean, both teams have had a great year. Another one of those great second round matchups. Of course, Newport's explosive. Put points on the board. But on Mansfield's side, I think one of the things that comes into the variables when you get in the playoffs is the previous year. And, Mansfield got beat in the semifinals 28-6 by a really good Prescott team that had probably fast and athletic and got after you. And I think, sometimes that bitter taste drives you into another season. And, I think Mansfield remembers that feeling on that field at home when Prescott came in, got that win, punched their ticket. And so I'm just going to, I'm going to go with that focus to finish type of mentality for Mansfield. I'm going to go with Mansfield taking care of the home field from previous year's experience and trying to get themselves back to that semifinal game to try to punch a ticket to win Memorial. So I'm going with Mansfield in this one.
Coach Wood's going to Mansfield. And
is Mansfield's field grass?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. How
long
is that grass going to be?
It's brown. But you know what? And I was sitting here back and forth with this game and kind of leaning Newport. Then Coach Wood talks about, bring up history, and those kids remember that kind of thing. But I'm going to go with Newport. I just think they've got to, I hate to do, I mean, I'm back and forth. I think you flip a coin, but I'm going with Newport. I think they just got some guys that could, make a difference in a quick second. This ought to go. If Mansfield could control the football, they can win the game. I mean, it's going to, who can control it and take care of it in that part. And Coach Wood hit on a good point. Guys, I grew up over there in that area. That's a long drive on a bus to Mansfield, but I'm going to go with Newport. I think Coach is going to get it done for them. All right. This game here, good gracious live, heading over to God's country. We've got Morrilton, who coming off a great win against Searcy in the first round. Probably was a big game last week. Played great on defense, offense. They've been explosive all year. Headed over to Valley View. Valley View's quarterback got banged up. Feel like he's going to be able to go this week. And Valley View's been hot. And people, we're talking about Parkview speed and everybody else's speed. Valley View's got as good speed there is in the state of Arkansas. Daryl, break this one down.
Well, Drew Gartman starts it for Valley View and the Jones boy. They can throw it. Like you said, their quarterback's kind of up in the air here. You look at Morrilton and golly, I mean, you're looking at over 4,000 yards of total offense just by three guys, really. And the quarterback, of course. Maddox Berry makes it all happen, but they've got Roden, Cox, Sandridge. All those wide receivers are over 800 yards on the season. The bell cows, the Roden kid who's got 20 touchdown passes because Berry's thrown for 48 touchdowns on the year, which is quite impressive if you look at anything. Of course, they're having to travel, and every time it seems like I pick against Morrilton, they win. So I don't know if the McNabbs want me to go that way. I think last week's show that I think Coach McNabb probably went into the defensive side a little bit. Said, hey, we got to figure out, we got to get one stop at least, make this thing work. I think Morrilton's on a roll. I think they're hot. I think Valley View is a really good football team. This is probably, I thought, maybe the best game of the whole entire week. Just because I think it's two teams that are really, really good. So second round of the playoffs, I'm taking the Devil Dogs.
Taking call the McNabb.
Devil Dogs. Hey, look, man, I just made that pick. I just made the pick. I just circled it. Circled it.
There'll be something on the internet about kiss of death. I've heard that.
It might be. It might be. You never know.
All right, Mouth, you like to fight McNabbs. They took care of the new line offense last week, and Valley View's got speed. They like to play a little defense over there, too. So what's your thoughts on this one?
Another great second-round matchup.
Oh, my gosh.
It's fantastic. I got to go back with the Fighting McNabbs. I got to go with the Dogs.
Mouse going with the Fighting McNabbs. Coach Wood, this is interesting. I mean, Morrilton's up and down. You know Coach McNabb well, and one of the best coaches in the state of Arkansas. Valley View, Coach Cockrell and them been on a roll. Nobody's really touched them all year long, and man, they got speed everywhere.
Yeah, on Morrilton's, do know Morrilton. He's married to my cousin, so I don't know if I should be picking here because I picked the wrong way. There goes the Christmas card.
Thanksgiving's over you, man.
I mean, it's
it really will. That'll really happen too, Woody.
I mean, I'm a dead man walking on this one. But hey, what speaks about Coach McNabb, that he's a defensive minded guy. I mean, that's just kind of been his calling card for a lot of years at Morrilton, but it shows you what a great coach he is, that he's adapted himself, explosive offense. He'll try to light up the scoreboard with anybody. I think that's just been a fantastic job, meeting the needs where your kids, where they're at. And so like what they're doing, also like Valley View. It's a team that got beat last year in the semifinals by Shiloh, the year before they get beat in the quarters, and so they're right there knocking on the door. I mean, even though next week's, you get either one of these gets to play with Parkview a little bit probably, but anyway, it's just I'm going to go with defense on this one. I hate to do it. It's going to cost me a Christmas card, and but I'm going to go with Valley View in this one at home, even though I think Morrilton, what McNabb's doing is just fantastic.
It is, and I'm gonna piggyback off that. I think Valley View's been focused all year. I think Morrilton, done a phenomenal job. And you talked about adapting and things. And hey, they played good on defense last week. They played good the week 10 in that part of it. And if anybody can fix it, it's him. It looks like he has. But I think Valley View's on a mission. And guys, they've been my sleeper all year long. They've been quiet and just stacking wins over there. I'm gonna go with Valley View also. And it's a good little trip over to God's country. All right, heading to Northwest Arkansas. The Camden Fairview Cardinals, the Fighting Vaughns, went over to Searcy last week and took care of Harding Academy, headed up here to the 5A West Conference Championships. And Coach Tice, what a great job him and Coach Watley and that staff has done this year. They're coming off a 2-point victory over a tough BB team who we think is a legitimate contender in 5A. They got that win. Daryl, break it down. This ought to be an interesting one.
Well, it's Farmington's winning the close games.
They are.
They're winning the close games, taking care of the ball, and it's like one of those things. Like if they need to score 30 to beat you, they score 30. Yeah. They might not score more than that, but they're going to score exactly what they have to do to beat you. Aiden Lester is a difference maker at the quarterback spot. They do a great job of him. He's got some weapons too to deal it with. Defense once again is kind of a bend but don't break, and we've seen them play really, really good. Now this is a different animal though, because Camden Fairview is extremely explosive. They've got great quarterback play. They can get after the quarterback also. Daryl Atkins Jr. He's over 2,500 yards of total offense, over 30 touchdowns. Trent Haygood is the wide receiver they've got. They'll even line him up in the Wildcat some. He'll even play defense a little bit, but he's over 1,000 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns. Unbelievable speed on the outside for Camden Fairview. I mean, if you just turned on the game against them in Parkview, you wouldn't know which one. If they were both in white jerseys, you wouldn't know which team was which. That's how explosive Camden can be offensively. So on this one, I think Coach Tyson has done a fantastic job this year. Amazing job. I'm sure last week, Coach Lunny's phone's getting blown up because of Tommy Tice. Yeah, they're trying to come up with some deals up there, trying to get Coach Lunny back. I'm going to take Camden Fairview on the road on this one.
Taking Fairview. Matthew, you saw the Fighting Vaughns last week live. You've been up to Farmington with Coach Tyson. You've seen Lester in action also. Ought to be an interesting matchup. Fairview's hot. They're not scared to go on the road either.
No, and it's the second year in a row. Last year, Fairview defeated Farmington at Farmington.
Sure did.
In the second round of the playoffs. And I believe they had a fine team last year, Camden Fairview. I believe they're better this year. And It's going to be a heck of a second round game again. But I have got to go with, and Aiden Lester's done a great job for Farmington. I just think Camden Fairview is too much for them. Going with the Cardinals.
Going with the Fighting Vaughns. Coach Wood, I mean, you live up here. You've been following the Cardinals pretty close. No, Coach Tice them also. Fairview, man, they're not scared to go on the road. Coach Vaughn, playoff time, he lights up.
No, I think you got two outstanding coaching staffs matching up against each other. I think what Coach Tice has done with the timing of him getting the job in the summer and then just go out there and just win week after week and grow a team. And then on top of that, he's got Lester, one of the top two quarterbacks in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, him and Reagan at Rogers, I mean, you got 1 and 1A and what they're doing for their team. They take their team to a different level. I mean, they're just different guys. They're just different. And so with what Coach Tyson, his staff, and then, Lester, quarterback, just dynamic team. But then on the other end, you got Vaughn. I mean, he was a great DC all the way through, and then becomes the head coach there, and they just keep rocking and rolling. And I just think a lot of Vaughn and what he does. Not only are they great defensively, but they're so explosive offensively with just the way they post scores week in and week out. It looks like a video game. And love Farmington Cardinals. I love the community. I love what they do. But this Camden Fairview group, they're a different animal coming in there. And they're going to give them fits, and I think they'll contain Lester and get the win and move themselves on to the next round.
And I agree with you. And one thing, you nailed it. What a phenomenal job. The timing with Coach Tice coming in there and keeping that thing on track, and they've won close games and done a phenomenal job. But they're playing at home, gives them a little advantage. You don't know about the weather, but Camden Fairview, Coach Vaughn has been on the road all year long and did it last year, and boy, they're playing well playing really good at the right time. I'm going with Fairview also. All right, this one here. Okay, we got Mountain Home, who wins 57-50 against Sheridan. Kudos to Coach Kelly, what he did at Sheridan this year and rolled into playoffs. Phenomenal job, Coach Aries at Mountain Home. They've had a phenomenal year. At Catholic. Now, we ain't gave Catholic much love this year, and every time we picked against them, they've won. They're sitting there at the 2 seed. They've earned it. They got the bye. Got Mountain Home, who beat them last year in the first round. Daryl, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, here's the other thing. Catholic, how many losses Catholic got?
Benton. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. They've lost one game, by the way. Jackson England's their quarterback. He's over 1,900 yards of passing offense, 22 touchdowns, takes really, really good care of the ball. He's only got 3 interceptions on the year. And they do it several different ways. They can throw it. They can run it. Defensively, they're really good, especially in the secondary, which has been kind of a scary thing. But after getting beat by Benton, they've played really, really good football, especially at home. They get to play at War Memorial, and it's a huge advantage for them. Mountain Home is kind of been beaten, battered a little bit. We know they can run the football with Jacob Chenoweth, who's over 1,500 yards rushing the ball and 20 touchdowns. They've had to battle through some injuries and some up and downs, and even the coach, bless his heart, he's had a day off or a week off. Anyway, they battled and keep winning. I think this is probably the biggest equal matchup of teams that we've got in the playoffs. So it's going to really come down to maybe the home field advantage here. So that's why I'm going to take Catholic at home in this one.
Going Catholic at home. Mouth, your thoughts on this one? I mean, it's an even matchup. Another great second round game.
Oh man, anytime you're coming to anytime you got to travel to Catholic, that home field advantage for Catholic is astronomical. But if there's one team that can handle going on the road, because Mountain Home when they go on a road trip, they go on a road trip.
Oh, this is a short trip for them.
Oh yeah. Short.
Yeah.
Is that about 3? How far is it? How far is that?
2.5. 2.5.
Yeah, it's going to be 3. It'll be roughly 3. Yeah. And now it's a crooked 3. It's not a straight shot.
That's true.
It's not a straight shot.
Yeah, you might see the taillights of the bus in the corner.
Blinking light.
Yes.
I'm going to take Catholic in this one.
Oh, Mouse going with Catholic. Wow. Okay. Coach, Mountain Home, you follow them, and they're a tough, solid football team that finds ways to win every week. Like I said, Catholics sitting there 9-1, and nobody's saying anything about them. And they took care of Marion, and it's a tough place to play. You've been down there, and going to War Memorial and playing Catholic in playoffs is very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Catholic's done this year is outstanding. 9-1 ball club, come up a little bit short against Benton, but I really do like Mountain Home. I think the style of ball they play fits well, being able to ground and pound. And one of the things that you get into some of these matches, I think depth of your conference comes into play in the playoffs. Yeah. I think how you've had to cut your teeth, the battles you've had to fight. I think 6A West is a little bit deeper. I only say that because, hey, Van Buren makes a trip across the state, beats Marion. And, you got a big win Mountain Home had when they went into Lake Hamilton and just really got after a team that's doing really good at that point and that's moving on. So for me, I just think them playing in the West and their style of ball, I think it's going to be to their advantage when they go into War Memorial. And always felt it was a positive for kids in the playoffs to go through War Memorial, just to remind you what you're playing for.
Yeah.
You're playing for that trip, and it's a special place. It's a special place for high school kids to go play. So I think that Mountain Home group will be ready. I think they'll get the win, and I think a lot of it has to do with the depth of their conference has kind of prepared them for this really difficult challenge.
Well, I do too. You brought that up. I mean, Van Buren goes to Marion, takes care of business. Russellville, El Dorado beats Russellville in a tight game, and the depth, and they've seen the Greenwoods in that part. I'm going with Mountain Home, and I think this is a extreme close one. It's going to come down to the wire. Could be an overtime situation here, but I'm going to go with Mountain Home also. Guys, we're taking a lot of road teams so far. So it's interesting. All right, this next one. We got Lake Hamilton at Benton. Benton's done everything everybody's asked them to do. Quarterback gets hurt, still go to Marion, win a conference championship. They're sitting there, only blemish they have on their records against Bryant, but Bryant's in our number one team. Lake Hamilton play at home against Mountain Home. Don't look very good. They come back, go too shallow, dominate that game. Coach Tommy Gilliard's playing right in the playoffs. Brad Harris knows all about the playoffs also. Daryl, break it down.
Well, you talk about a coach that's kind of playing to the styles at Lake Hamilton.
Yeah.
Coach G's figured out what they're good at, and they're going to be good at it. And he's kind of stuck with that. Hayden Barton's their bell cow running back. He's got 184 carries, over 1,500 yards on the ground, 21 touchdowns. Lake Hamilton, even though they went to Greenwood and got beat 42-0, but that was a lot closer than you would think if you watched the game. I mean, they try to sustain drives, keep Greenwood off the field. I thought they did a really good job in that game, even though they got beat 42-0. Lake Hamilton, though, is going to go to Benton, kind of running into the same kind of offense that Greenwood has. And now I think Benton's able to run it a little bit better than they did at the start of the year with the Tucker kid. Drew Davis is their starting quarterback. He got hurt there a little bit. They put in the sophomore, didn't miss a beat. They've got some weapons on the outside. They got 3 really, really quality wide receivers. Offensive line's really good. Both tackles for Benton are really, really solid, especially in pass protect. And that's going to be the problem. Lake Hamilton's going to have to knock them off course, try to get them behind the chains. Whether or not they can do that, I don't know. Nobody has against Benton this year. And Benton's at home. I think Benton knows what they're playing for. I think they'll be fired up. I think Benton will take care of business at home.
Take care of business at home. Mouth, what do you think about this one? Different styles make fights. What do you think about
it? It's definitely going to be a different style of game. I think that Coach Tommy Gillard will be wearing shorts no matter what the temperature.
Got that in me.
I got that in me. And he's done a great job with Lake Hamilton this year. They've had a great season. But Benton, they just seem to be a complete team to me. They got it all. They lose their quarterback group. They lose their quarterback. They don't miss a beat. Put in a sophomore. Boom, boom. Let's go. The most important thing they've got a great offensive line. that looks really, really good when they get off the bus every week. So I'm going with Benton in this one.
Mouse going with Benton in this one. He loves the offensive line at Benton. Coach, like we're talking about, Tommy's getting hot at the right time. Brad Harris and them been consistent. They've had to overcome some things, but they've been dominant.
Yeah, I mean, again, you talk about a heck of a coaching matchup with Gilleron Harris, two fantastic ball coaches, and they get everything out of their programs, get everything out of their kids, and you can just tell the belief systems are there. Coach Gilleron, I mean, what he'll have to do is kind of mimic what he did up at Shiloh when he took his ball club in there. Sure, he disrupted the tempo for Shiloh, kept them off the field, made them press offensively, made them uncomfortable with what they were doing a little bit, and led to a big win for Lake Hamilton. And on the other side of that, you got Benton just and it speaks volumes when you go back and look. And they lost to Bryant 45-52. Now, I don't know how that game played itself out. I just looked at the final score, but there's a lot of teams on Bryant's schedule that would have liked to only been beat by 7. And so I'm just saying. Yes. And so that just tells me right there that Benton has linemen. If you're going to try to toe up with Bryant, you better have linemen. Because, most 7A schools, they got the skill guys. Everybody's got skill guys all the way down. Well, the cream of the crop is in the trenches. I mean, those are the war daddies of high school football in Arkansas are linemen. If you got linemen, you're going far. And so Ben's got them linemen. I'm sure Lake Hamilton has linemen as well, but I'm going to go with Benton and Coach Harris punching his ticket to the semifinals.
Well, hit this a little bit, and you talked about having to press on offense going against Lake Hampton, just like you used to do. I mean, y'all played Cabot when you were at Harbor for years, and you called plays. Talk to our audience a little bit about your mindset going into the game, knowing that the possessions are going to get shorter and they're getting these long drives. Talk to how that is as a play caller.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is when you're a tempo-driven offense or a quick strike, or you're just trying to get snaps and possessions. And when you go from, you have about 10 possessions first half, you can get another 8 or so in the second half. So when you get those cut down to what you're usually calling, and now it's 2/3 of that's what you're getting in the game, then the execution and perfection of the kids, it's just a stressor on everybody as a play caller. And you're trying to make sure you don't, no one can call a perfect game. So you want to try to minimize those calls that put your guys in bad situations. And then when you get less of those opportunities, I mean, it's a stressor. So when you get into a team that can just move the chains, let's get 4th and 1. Let's just move the chain. Let's knock 5 minutes off of this play clock. And now instead of those first 10 possessions in the first half, you only get 6. Now in the course of a game, you only get 12, and you're only getting about, you lose 1/3 of your offensive possessions over the course of a game. That's a big deal. So when you run into, back in the day, a Cabot and the dead T, and Reed's doing that some now. I mean, he's not dead T, but he's still Cabot football. Now, I mean, they're getting back to running gap scheme, but then you get a coach at Lake Hamilton. I mean, that wing T, and he runs it to perfection. He knows all defensive schemes. You see that with Absher at Prairie Grove. He can milk a game better than anybody when he needs to. And so as an offensive, and when you're out of flow and you're pressing to every possession's got to be perfect. And in the reality in the high school game, kids are giving you the heart and souls to do everything they can for you, but it's hard to be perfect over a course of 4 quarters of football. So that's a big deal as a play caller. So you got to make every possession count, because you're not going to get your typical amount.
Probably also if you get behind, I mean, even more of a stressor. Yeah. They go down and, get 7. Yeah, I could. Yeah.
Like in 2019, I remember Little Rock Central coming in and playing us, and they went for it on 4th down. They were great in the kicking game. They took our possession count down, and we had to score in the last 4 minutes through a touchdown, and then we had to get an interception to win the game. And we were favored in that, but Central did such a fantastic job of just taking possessions away and just trying to squeeze. It's just a slow squeeze. It doesn't happen. Like, you don't feel in the first quarter, you don't feel it at halftime, but that third quarter you start understanding. And then once you get behind, I mean, you start pressing. You get out of your wheelhouse. You're starting to search and look, and you just got to be real even keel. You got to be like a poker player. You just got to stay the course, let the game play itself out, and you get out of there 19-17. Get out of there 19-17.
Yeah, and that's something for the audience to watch. If you're watching this game, is if Lake Hamilton's getting those long drives and getting some points off of it, might be field goals, it might be changing the field. And Coach made a great point. This one, I think Tommy's going to have them ready to go, and I think they're fired up about it. But I do think Ben's got the overall better team, and they take care of business. And these kids, these communities know each other. But I'm going to go with Benton because they're at home. All right, here we go. We're hit this 7A right here.
Oh.
This game here, I mean, this could be rest of them are games of the week. Every one on here is game of the week, but PA headed to Fayetteville. We had talked a lot about Fayetteville. You know, they played the game with Bentonville and got beaten. They've taken care of business, you know, all the way through and that part of PA. It's just kind of been a thorn in everybody's side in that 7A Central and proving that they can play with anybody. Do both, both staffs, great staffs. Got to go to Fayetteville's hard place to play. Daryl, break this one down, Mr. Cobb.
Well, it's kind of like Coach Wood just said, though. Like PA's offensive line, and defensive line, they've stood the test. I mean, they really have. They stood up to Bryant, and all those guys. They played really, really well. I think Coach Lucas has done a fantastic job. Especially, you knew offensively they would be good. You didn't know if they would hold up to that schedule, and they have. They've overcome a lot of things. This is a scary game on both sides, if you ask me. I think Fayetteville's explosive offensively. Defensively, can they get after PA? Here's the biggest key, I think, in this game is the defensive end from PA, Jackson Redmond. He leads the state in sacks. He's got 13 on the year. I think he can disrupt Fayetteville a little bit defensively. PA's coming in and averaging 46 points a game, and that's against everybody. Like I said, they've moved up some freshmen too. They got two in that class. Freshman Chase Hancock had a 76-yard touchdown last week thrown to him. Rashawn Mitchell moved into the tailback spot a little bit back behind Cobb. He had a 42-yard touchdown and a 16-yard touchdown against Southwest to get their first 7A win. Brandon Cobb's, I think he's like fourth in the country in total offense, and he's phenomenal. And, they get their scheme is when they get it so deep, it's hard to get to him, and then he can run it. He's got over 500 yards rushing the football too. It's kind of for over 50 touchdowns on the year. Fayetteville, of course, we know all about Fayetteville. Garrett Odom settled in there at quarterback. He can run and throw it too. He's got Delamar on the outside with the Taylor kid. If their biggest thing with Fayetteville is if they can run the football. I think their offensive line's gotten a little better. If they can get some balance there, they've become extremely, extremely difficult. And then defensively, can they hold up? They haven't really. I really thought at the first of the year they were going to be really, really good defensively, especially with their linebacker core, but they've struggled some, especially the teams that line it up and run it at you. I think PA is going to spread it out, though. So Fayetteville's at home, defending state champions. I'm sure they're fired up to make a statement because everybody's kind of not talking about them right now.
Yeah,
nobody's ever talking about them right here. So I'm going to take Fayetteville at home in this one.
Daryl's taking Fayetteville. Mouth. This might be one of the best 7A second round matchups I've seen in years. Your thoughts?
Oh, no question about it. And this game will come down to one or two plays during the game. It'll come down to will Fayetteville will they be able to recover all the onside kicks? Will Pulaski Academy steal an onside kick from them when at a critical point in the game? And it will also come down to, as Coach Wood said about as the play caller, are you going to be patient enough to just go with your game plan and not go totally off script? Because if either of them gets behind, it's a recipe for disaster. This could be the last team that gets the ball wins. But I am long road trip for Pulaski Academy. I'm going with Fayetteville Purple Dogs.
I'm going with Fayetteville. Well, Coach Wood,
I will say Fayetteville sure needs to shore up some things on defense. This because they gave up They've been giving up a lot of points.
Oh, the boys will get that over there, man. They'll be listening to this. I like it. A little motivation for the boys over there. Coach Woods, you brought this up, and if anybody knows, my God, you played PA in a I think might have been the highest scoring game of all time. Talk to the audience a little bit in the special teams part of it, preparation, getting ready for PA, and then offensively, they're unique. And talk to us a little bit about the preparation, getting ready for them, then your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, it is unique to try to get ready for PA. I mean, with their onside kicks and what they do within their special teams and going 4 down. I think statistically speaking, I don't know if Coach Lucas does as many on the 4 down. I do think he punts a little bit more, but not a ton. But Abel, I watched PA firsthand in action Friday night, and they do a good job with their onside kick game. I don't know. Harbor recovered every one of them. And so they had it at every possession 50. There wasn't, I would say that's probably not as dynamic as it was been in the past or what it was a few years ago. I'm not trying to take it, doing a fantastic job, but I'm just saying, with some of the kicking styles they're doing, those balls were pretty playable for the receiving team. And so if Fayetteville can get that, that's going to be a big deal. And then, uniquely offensively, they're just so explosive. I think this was pointed out to me Saturday at the state dance in Alma, but it made a really good point, and you never really thought about it. And then I just kind of stepped back and I thought, and the point was made this with their offense. A lot of PA wants to extend the game. And so a lot of their offensive call game is to the sideline. They want to get out of bounds. They want to stop the clock. They want to move the next one. Don't get me wrong. They have dynamic plays in the middle where they run the crossers like they always do. You get man free. They're going to shoot across the field on you. They're going to get you try and trail position, let their athletes do their work. So they're still going to work the middle of the field. But even the run game, it's a lot of counter sweep, a lot of edge stuff, try to get you out on the edges. And I think it was just pointed out, I think that was part of the hidden stats they don't talk about is football plays to the sideline, stop the clock, keep the possessions, give me more snaps. I think that goes into that play snap count, where they're trying to get 80, 90, 100 offensive snaps. A lot of their games called to the sideline. So it's almost like having a mindset of hey, it's 2-minute defense, but we're going to funnel everything into the middle and we're going to make the clock run. Even though you're going to be explosive and we're not going to let you have sideline plays. We're going to eliminate the sideline plays. And if you get us in the middle of the field and we get that clock started, now we're going to take snaps away from you. I think there could be something there a little bit on that, but I don't know. They're so explosive offensively. It's ridiculous. And then I was able to watch Fayetteville 2 weeks ago in a downpour, and they really got the run game going. And so that's what really stood out to me. They didn't have to have the passing game to a high standard in just a muddy situation, lined up and just ran the ball. A lot of gap stuff, did a really good job there. Of course, Delamar's a really special receiver, and when Odom's healthy, he's a dynamic quarterback as well. And so both teams, really great matchup. It's going to be exciting. I've gone back and forth on this one because you just think you lean one way for like 10 minutes and then you go back the other way. Well, and you're just kind of in your own argument on who's going to pull this thing out. I'm going to go with Pulaski Academy on this one. I think they're going to come in. I think they're going to be dynamic in their passing game. I was impressed with their line. They weren't overly big. They're not an overly imposing O-line and D-line like they've been. They got that left tackle that's tall as all get. Like 6'6". Yeah. But the rest of those dudes are about 5'10". Mm-hmm. And but man, do they play hats off to Pulaski. They do such a great job coaching their interior guys, and they give them such a great chance against any type of talent that's lining up across from them. I thought they held up really well. I thought they were real physical. I thought they moved well defensively. I thought they were strong defensively in the box. The back end did a really good job holding up, but man, their front really pressured well. If Fayetteville's going to have a chance against PA, do not let the quarterback out of the pocket. Keep him in the pocket. Do not have. When you rush the edges, when he gets out, his eyes do such a great job of looking downfield. He never loses downfield vision, and he knows where his trail receivers are. He knows where his break routes are, where he can beat you over the top on the backside corner when he's not doing his job, or when that corner wants to peek. That backside dude's post over the top. Quarterback throws like a 60-yard pass touchdown, strike up the band, onside kick, here we go. And so those are the little things that'll come into play in this chess match. But if Fayetteville can keep the quarterback in the pocket, it'll go Fayetteville's way. They let him get around a little bit. it's going to go PA's way. I think PA pulls this one off, and in a really good football game, well coached teams.
Oh, it'll be a great game. You talked about PA's quarterback. He sprinted to the left. And this guy's crossed on that post and jumps and throws it on the highlight. I was like, oh my gosh. And it's a strike. I think Fayetteville, and Chris, you've been there, playoff time and that stadium gets going. Not that PA's going to be intimidated. They've been on the biggest stage for years, but I feel like Fayetteville depth wise could come into play a little bit, but I like the Purple Dogs in this. All right, this one here.
Hey, coach is on something though. They do run everything the sideline. That's how they call plays too. Like the nearest person to the sideline, he channels the play in, or at least they did that with Coach Kelly when I went and talked to him about how they call plays so fast. Because I kept going, hey man, you can call plays in 7 seconds. If you get 11 guys to do it, I think you could probably do it in basketball. So that was my whole mad scientist moment. But yeah, they actually would call it to the nearest wide receiver and channel it all the way down the line, and that's how they could run plays so fast.
Wow.
So there's a lot to him throwing on the sidelines, working. They just make the field wider too. Golly, they get you so spread out. Remember back in the day, they used to have them giant splits too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, heck, they would just get you all spread across.
Yeah, that's a great game. Takes a tech.
Yep.
Well, yep. And guys, we're hitting on this. We're getting off rail here a little bit. It's okay though. It's kind of the same deal. We're talking about Lake Hamilton Benton, just a different style. You got, run the clock and how to gain possessions and that part. All right, moving on. This one right here. Oh my gosh. Head to Central Arkansas. You got Rogers Mounties, who is having a phenomenal season. Coach Harbison, that staff, Mr. Reagan, those guys have just been dominant. Headed down to Conway. Conway's coming off a bye week, got beat by Bryant pretty good. Week 10. Let's talk about history a little bit. Last year, Conway coming off bye after that loss, didn't have a great performance, I believe, against Bentonville West. If they're not ready to play, they could be in trouble. Talk to us about this one, Daryl.
Well, they got the bye and of course they got a home game here. The biggest question is probably going to be the Wilson kid. If the Wilson kid plays or doesn't, even though I didn't think the Self kid played bad. I thought he did a good job even against the Bryant. Their trouble is they have a hard time running it. Besides being explosive, I mean, they don't have thumpers. They have a bunch of little cats that you get them in space. They can take to the house. So they're more explosive in their run game than they are just, pound it and keep you off the field. I think that Conway's defense is up for. Man, I don't know what you do on this one. You have to ask Coach Wood on this defensively how you stop this guy because, this guy can throw it. He can run it. The scheme is built around him. He's got Braxton Lindsay, a big 6'4" wide receiver on the outside that is a dude. That guy is a dude. And, Brian had some dudes that gave Conway some trouble there, too, that they couldn't stop. And they don't really have anybody in the secondary that matches up with that guy. Rogers, once again, we said it all year long. Rogers has been one that can score a ton of points. I think they should have beat Fayetteville, just had a defensive lapse there. I think Rogers is not going to be scared of this game, especially when you got a quarterback like that guy that can do so many things. On the year, he's accounted for almost 4,000 yards. He's got 3,135 yards of total offense. Reagan does over 44 combined touchdowns on the year. He was fantastic last week too. And like I said, can Conway get after him? They had a hard time getting after Walker. The last game they played. Conway is at home though, and like I said, this is kind of the statement game here. And like Coach Williams always says, does Bryant beat him twice? Yeah. And this could be happening. This one. Rogers is going to go down there. Like I said, they've got some past history with Conway too, especially when these kids were younger. I think Coach will have them ready, but man, it's hard to the explosiveness of Conway on offense too. So that's why I'm going to take Rogers, baby. Rogers is traveling.
Oh my God!
Shock in the world.
Oh,
go! Hey, I'm the only guy that's picked three travel teams.
That's it, man.
It's my guy right there.
Oh, my guy. All right, Mouth. I want to see your face, man, on this one.
Yeah.
Boy, James and Fimp picks Rogers. What's the vibe with Buck James and the Conway Wampus Cats right now?
Well, I haven't talked to Coach James through text this week. They've been going through a few things, but I believe Conway will bounce back. There's one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to face Buck James after he's been beat very badly. They're going to have a lot of their stuff's going to be tightened up, and Conway's had a great season. Reagan's a great quarterback, but not so fast, Daryl. I can't go against Conway.
Like we knew you were going to go out there. Come on, man.
Yeah,
you ripped that shirt off. You got a Buck James tattoo.
All right, Coach Wood, break this one down for us because you're one of the first guys I've really ever saw do this. If I'm getting old, I forget, but they're running a lot at Rogers. Talk to us a little bit about for our audience. We then had Rogers on our top 10 games of weeks a lot. Talk to us a little bit about that empty set with the sniffer back, with a full back with 10 personnel, the RPO a little bit off that. And just talk to us a bit about the Rogers Mountings.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Coach Harbison's, I think, one of the top coaches in our state. I think about just recognizing talent and what gives his guys a chance to be successful. And so him and his staff go in, and they've done this really since he was the coordinator and then transitioned to the head coach. They've identified their most dynamic playmaker, and that becomes their quarterback. It's just like the Reagan kid who's all-state receiver as a sophomore. Now he moves to quarterback, and he goes to a totally different level. And so what Coach does is just, a lot of people sometimes condense. He spreads, and it just gives them vision of field. I mean, Coach Fimple was talking about, when you have to cover sideline to sideline, you got to take care vertically. And then if the box isn't right, they're going to run all day. And so by them being able to be getting the empty sets and the sniffer set out of the doubles look, it forces the box. It forces the hand. Are you going to play a zone behind this, or are you going to just man us up? And then if you're going to man us up, we've got a 6'4" kid out here, number 14, Lindsey, and he'll just go up and just take the ball from you. And so you get into these it's a chess match for Coach Harbison, and he does such a great job of getting you in defensive sets. And then if the box sitting right, you're going to see a gap. You can see the zone scheme. If the box is condensed, now we got our matchups with the Lindsey kid on the edge, or we're going to let the quarterback get outside the pocket and let him be dynamic in what he does. So they'll sprint him out. They do a really good job of this, of sprinting him out. And if they don't like that flood concept that's going on there, Reagan knows he's going to pull it down. He's going to counter back to the other side of the field. Eyes still downfield. And if you don't have someone to count for Reagan, he's going to go, for Reagan, he's going to go 60 yards on a touchdown. I mean, he's like Speedy Gonzalez, he's gone, or the road runner, beep, beep, he's out of here. So I think, one of the things for Rogers, just the ability for Coach Harbison to get those offensive sets the way he wants them, to get those defenses to align and have to overplay one or the other. And then he automatically hammers the thing you're not doing well, and he doesn't stop. And so that's what's really made them explosive offensively over these last few years. Going into this game, they've kind of hit the wall on the quarterfinals. They get to the quarterfinals. They haven't been able to punch through that wall just yet. And he's got a team that can punch through the wall. The only challenge on punching through this wall, it's the Wampus Cat wall in Conway, Arkansas, where that's a tough wall to punch through in the quarterfinals. And I just think that Conway group, man, I think they got a bad taste in their mouth what happened in week 10. I really do. I mean, no one was expecting that to play out the way it did. I'm sure Brian expected it, but everyone else, and there's one more up there, I think he'll have them ready to play in the quarterfinals. I think Coach is going to bring a great ball club in there. But I think Conway's going to find a way to win that game and move on to the semifinals. But it's going to be a really good ball game, because I think Reagan's he's one of the best they've ever had at the quarterback position, and Rogers doing the Harbison system, and it's really good.
Well, I agree with you. I think Rogers, it's an interesting matchup. I think Buck, they learned from history about getting ready to play, and it's a tough second round game. I mean, you're sitting there, both those 7-8 games are really tough. But I'm going to go with Conway. I think they're just too much at home. I'm with Coach Wood on that one. All right, let's get into it now. Here we go. Our small school game of the week, Daryl. This one here, man, it's your boys Prescott headed up to Salem. We talked about Carlisle and Junction City earlier in the show. These two matched up earlier at a neutral site. Now Prescott has to go all the way up to Salem. Salem's getting healthy.
Salem did get healthy. You're right. The Brink kid got healthy. Caden Brink's back, had 3 touchdowns last week against West Fork. Jackson Taylor, a quarterback, threw a touchdown pass and ran for 1 for 55 yards. Kagan Sanders got 15 sacks on the year for Salem. The grass in the middle of the field's dead. I mean, you're just traveling in there. But Prescott don't care. The Carlisle don't care. Already sold every playoff ticket they allotted to us right here. We're just all traveling there. Beat Quitman last week. Prescott did 35-3. Prater 3 for 3 touchdowns, ran for 1. White, Monk, Brownlee, all 3 wide receivers caught a touchdown pass. KJ Page, the running back who they've used more recently than ever before, had a rushing touchdown. The defense gave up 146 yards of total offense to Quitman on the year. We're giving up 12.9 points a game. All right. Coach Glass knows this. We got 2 guys over 100 tackles, and Mark Brownlee and Jaden Pirtle. And here's the secret weapon right here. Of course, Salem's just going to ground and pound it. But they put Dwayne White, their freak wide receiver, at defensive end. Yeah, they rush the passer. So if you get behind the chains, you get to see this 6'4", athletic as heck kid get after your quarterback a little bit. Prescott's been there. It's playoff time. Coach Glass, hey, man, we love the stats. Just on some straight notebook paper. Here we go, baby. Old school curly woof action. I think Prescott takes this one. I think it's going to be a good game, though.
Oh, yes, sir.
It's going to come down to also, Prescott got in trouble against Bismarck, turning the ball over, making it short fields. Got to stay out of that with Salem playing at home. Salem is not going to back down from them, try to keep them off the field, but can they keep them out of the explosive plays? And I think Prescott's going to have too many explosive plays.
Don't Prescott. All right, Mouth.
This is another great game right here. But the Mouth has to go with Coach Glass and the Curly Wolves.
Coach Glass and the Curly Wolves.
Well, hey, have you ever seen that? Have you seen Prescott punt?
I don't think they have all.
They kick it. They kick a field goal like it's a field goal.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, they do it all the time. I mean, it's just crazy. It's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, old school, man. Snap it back and hold her. You kick it down there. It's crazy.
Spread out, man.
Yeah, first time I seen it, I thought, oh my God, we're going to kick an 80-yard field goal. Yeah, never seen that.
Well, you never know about Coach Glass.
You got to get deep in the old rule book there.
Exactly. All right, Coach Wood. Prescott, these guys played earlier. Yep. Earlier in the year, Salem's getting healthy. Long drive up to North Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge on this one for Salem is, Prescott knows how to win the playoffs, and they've done it for decades. And, Coach Glass does a good job with that program. And then I played earlier this year, I think, down at Prescott, and Prescott won.
No. Neutral side. They played at Hendricks.
Played at Hendricks. Okay, so saw that with a 9-point win. And so, I just it's one of those. It's hard to pick against Prescott, but I'm gonna go with Salem on this. I think they're going to win. Punch the ticket, move on. So I'm going Salem.
Go Salem.
Yeah.
I think this just goes either way. Coach Glass is he's nervous about this game. He's been, the way Coach Glass does things. He's focused in 1 week at a time, but he knew this was coming. I think Prescott goes on the road and wins this one. I think it's going to be close. So I'm going to go with the Curly Wolves on this one. All right. Another rematch. Here we go. Big school game of the week. We got Lakeside, Coach Rockwell, and the Lakeside Rams headed down to Little Rock to go take on Joe T. Robinson. And they played earlier in the year, 19-14. Robinson jumped out 14-0. And here come Lakeside storming back, and they knew they'd meet again. Before we get in this game, let's go ahead and bring on our Lindsay Associated guest, head coach from Joe T. Robinson, Todd Escola. Coach, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. I enjoy listening to you each week.
Well, we have a lot of fun with it. let's get into your bunch. And we were just talking before we started this interview off there. Y'all been kind of quiet. I mean, y'all just been stacking wins. We've been on the show. We brought you up a few times here or there. You've had a couple of big games, but you guys, this time last year, I was sitting there talking to you and you kept saying, Coach, I think we're a year away. Yeah. And y'all obviously done that. Talk to us a little bit about your progression, because you got a big game with Lakeside and we'll get into it later on. Talk to a little bit about the process. I mean, you knew you had a good bunch coming in this year. Tough league you played in that 5A Central with, Maumelle, Searcy, BB. There's a lot of great football teams in that. Talk to us a little bit about how you started and where you're at now a little bit.
Well, it's kind of been our I guess, recipe when we've had a good bunch is stay under the radar. Worry about us. I'm not a coach that's looking for a camera or looking to get interviewed. I want to worry about us. I want to focus on getting better every week. And each time we've had a really good bunch that's done that, we've been really successful. And this team has bought into that this year. Just keep your mouth shut. Just worry about us. Last week we won, but we didn't celebrate after the game. We weren't happy with our performance last week against Bologna. And I like that about this team. I like the fact that they're just trying to get better, and we'll have to get better, to be able to beat Lakeside. It's hard to beat somebody twice.
It is. Let's get into it. I mean, y'all met them, I believe, week 2 or 3, or like your last non-conference game came, 5-point win by you guys, I believe. Coach Rockwell does a great job. He stacked them up, got his non-conference right, and they've rolled right through. And like you were talking about, they're the 2 seed, but they're, Parkview's in their league, and they're playing Camden, Fairview's in their league, a really tough league. You got them back at home. Talk to us a little bit about the problems they present to you earlier and what you've seen from them now, where they're at this far in the season.
Well, it's a great football team. We knew that when we played them non-conference. We knew going in we were probably going to see them in the playoffs. We told them that after the game. They're very well coached. They've got good running back. They got a really good receiver, good quarterback, good on both lines. Defensively, they bring a lot of pressure, play man. We like playing teams that play man, so we're excited about that. But it's, they mix in some zone too. They try to disguise like everybody does and throw in some zone with it. And our quarterback's gotten a lot better at recognizing that, and our receivers are post-snap stuff. So, but they're a solid football team. We do that in non-conference. We jumped on them a little bit early, played well in the first half. It was great for us because it was a game where our kids kind of were feeling themselves at halftime. I think we were up 17-0 at halftime, gave up some plays, and it forced our kids to battle back in the fourth quarter and deal with some adversity. So for us as a growing team, it helped us a lot playing them and had to win in that fashion.
Well, and you talked about it. I mean, they've sat there and ran through their conference, one loss to Parkview, played some tough teams, and they are a quality opponent. One thing about it, you've been in this position before. You know what it takes to win a state championship, to get to War Memorial right up the road from your stadium there. Mm-hmm. Talk to him a little bit. How is this team similar to some of those teams that you've had in the past? I know every team's different. Well, what's it going to take for you guys? Obviously, you got your hands full this week, and it's going to be next week and the following if you can get that far. What do you need to do? Obviously, stay healthy, take care of the football. What do y'all need to do to get a victory in this game and to get to where you want to go?
Yeah, each team's different. 21, I just had a gut feeling before the playoffs started with 21's group that, it was going to be fun. This group, I think, is very capable. Gotta stay healthy, gotta minimize turnovers. That's been a big deal. We've done a really good job with it. If we don't turn the ball over, I think we're hard to beat. We got our kicker back, and that's huge when you got to go 80 yards every single time we kick off. That's a big deal. I tell you something that I didn't think would make as big a difference, and it did in the first playoff game, is adjusting. Our conference at the beginning of the year went 6 officials. And we paid 6 officials every week and went through the Arkansas Association for High School Officials, and they were fantastic all year. And then you get to the playoffs and you're down to 5. And they missed some stuff, and they got, the game got a little chippy, and some of the things that 6 are able to see because they're in better position, 5 can't. And I never thought that would be a big deal for players, coaches, everything. I think it was for both of our teams, because that's the first game we played all year with only 5 officials. And so that adjusting to something like that, but mainly just playing loose. If we don't turn the ball over and I say it every week, if we get better than we were last week, then we'll have a chance to win. But this is a game you're going to have to play good in. And I think, Coach Rockwell is going to tell his kids the same thing. We got to play well. And I think this is a game that the winner could, next week's going to be tough too, but the winner of this game's got a great chance to be in War Memorial. So it's a big game.
Well, it is. You talked about this, and we talk about it on the show all the time. And you've been doing it a long time, like I used to. Is you sit there and you made the phrase, "We got to get better." And we always say on this show is, teams that get in the playoffs that want to get better on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the ones that keep on going. What's some things that you do to motivate your team and get that point across?
I think because we've had that success of winning a couple of state championships here in the last few years, that our kids know if you stop climbing each week, you stop practicing hard, you got to stay humble, you got to go back. We watch film and look for our mistakes. We don't make highlight films. We want to see what we've got to do to get better. We still practice fundamentals. It's just kind of got to be a mindset, and ours is a 365 mindset of just worry about us. Doesn't matter who we're playing. It doesn't matter if we're playing Lakeside or Fairview or Farmington this week, whoever it is. If we don't take care of us, we don't win. And that's just kind of a mindset.
Well, that's beautiful. And you nailed it. I mean, you got to focus on yourself, and you got to get better each week and get a good plan together, which you always do every week. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. We'll probably have you on down the road. Hopefully you guys keep your success. You've had a wonderful year, and good luck to you this Friday.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
See you, buddy. Well, Coach feels good. They're sitting there. They ran the table all year long. Daryl, this ought to be an interesting matchup. Coach Rockwell, he's had his eye on this one for a while.
Well, yeah, of course. Lakeside really good on offense. They can throw it and they can run it. Grady Oman's over 1,600 yards on the ground, 20 touchdowns, 8 yards a carry. Yeah. That dude has averaged in that league, which is pretty impressive. And they're really good on the offensive line, especially the left side of the offensive line. They can move some people. Wally Walcott is their quarterback at Lakeside. He's thrown for over 1,807 yards. They're pretty balanced offensively. And defensively, they've got the back ends pretty good. It's going to be whether or not you can stand up against Robinson, because Robinson's caught fire offensively. They're throwing it now. They're running it. They're running some screen game in there too. So they keep you off balance. But Tyson Braden has played really well, especially the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's over 1,500 yards, throwing it through the air with 23 touchdowns. They're not turning it over, just like a Coach Scolatine never really does. But like you said, the first matchup, low scoring, kind of just grind it out, find a way to win it, which Robinson's done a lot this year. They've scored in all 3 phases of the game, both offensively, defensively, and in special teams. They are playing at home too, and I think they've got a bigger picture here. I think Lakeside is – I'm sure right now Robinson's going, daggum, they're really good. Watching them on tape. So I think this is going to be a heck of a game. By far the best, one of the best. And we've got a bunch of good games this week, but I think this is going to be one to watch. But in the 501, Robinson home, I'm going to take Robinson in this one, and it's going to be a close one.
Yes, sir. All right, Mouth, what do you think about this? Another big rematch.
This is probably two of the 2 best teams in 5A right here.
Yeah.
Fixing to go. Lakeside hung with Robinson it was either the second week or third week of the year.
It was week 2, but the third game.
Yeah. And they hung with Robinson as better than anybody. But to me, it just seems like Robinson's been on a mission all year. And they've been dominant, in my opinion. Coach Rockwell's done a great job at Lakeside. In a close one, the Mouth is going with the Senators.
Mouth's going with Senators. All right, Coach, break this down. This is another rematch played earlier in the year. It's kind of like the same old through this whole show. Talk to us, 2 athletic teams, 2 well-coached teams.
Yeah, both of them do an outstanding job. Lakeside started off their winning this summer, winning, I think, 7-on-7 at PA, so they know they have winning culture, and you can say it's 7-on-7, but winning's winning. And wherever you can build that, tells you they can spin it, they can throw it around a little bit. And then they get into the year, they lose by 5 earlier on to the Senators, and is a defensive game, low scoring game. And then you got Robinson. I mean, I guarantee you those guys got they're focused on Old Memorial. They want to go back. Last time they was there, they won a state championship, I believe, against Shallow Christian, and just got after it. And so traditionally, usually what happens if the first matchup's low scoring, second one, there's going to be some points put on the board. If it's high scoring and everybody's excited about a high scoring game, it's a defensive game. And it's just usually traditional. That's the craziest thing. That's usually how it plays off. So this is probably going to be explosive. There's going to be some points scored, even though they're both really good defensively and they execute. It's just these rematches usually go totally opposite of what you project out. So if it gets into a track meet, gets into scoring and all that, I'm going to give I've seen Robinson in action in a state championship game a couple of times when they really get themselves going offensively. And so I'm going to take Robinson to win this game and punch their ticket to the next round.
Well, I think it's a very close game. And you hit good points there. Robinson got up, just like Coach Scola talked about in the interview, they jumped up 14-0, kind of relaxed. And here comes Lakeside. Then they, end up winning the game. He says it's a great learning experience for them, but they know how tough Lakeside's going to be, but I'm going to go with Robinson also. Well, guys, let's get in and do this. Let's recap real quick. Daryl, just real quick, what are you looking forward to seeing this coming Friday night?
Rogers Conway.
Yeah.
Rogers Conway. I want to see, if Bryant beats them twice here, what the game plan is going to be a little bit differently. And then, of course, you got the health of the quarterback. But I'm really anxious to see, Rogers offensively. I mean, can you stop Rogers and Regan from being what they've been all year long? Yeah. I think they know exactly what they do and how they do it. And like Coach Wood said, Coach Harbison's, he's one of the best at what they do. I think that's going to be interesting. I think Lakeside and Robinson's going to be interesting. Of course, Prescott, can they handle the travel? I'm sure Coach Glass is going to talk about it all week long. He's probably going to get them out of English class a little bit, talk about it at the end. Hey, we're going to travel, guys, on Friday. So I think that they're going to be some great games this week. And like I said, this is playoff time. Yeah. It only takes one drop pass, one turnover, one change of possession, one bad play to, turn the entire tide and momentum of game. And once you lose momentum, especially in the playoffs, man, it's hard to get back.
No doubt. Mouth, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to every one of these 10 games.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
I'm not even going to pick one that's my one that's most outstanding. What I'm looking forward to the most this week is I want to see each of these teams that are in these games that they're able to stay focused, that they never let their foot off the gas. Does that make sense? That make sense? And I want to see when a team gets behind, that they're able to forget about the bad plays. Let's just play on.
Yeah.
I just want to see good football
you're going to see some good football. Coach Wood, what matchup, what are you looking forward to in this round, second round of the playoff?
The matchup I'm really looking forward to is Harbor basketball versus Conway Wampus basketball Friday night, where my son will be. And then I think the Conway ladies are over at Springdale High. And is that right? I think that's some good basketball. And but I know it. Hey, I know. We're in football. I mean, the biggest thing for me, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think these are all heck of a matchups, great coaches, staffs, communities. I know everybody needs to step back and be real appreciative your team's still playing.
Yeah.
That means that's good. And enjoy those moments. You don't get them back. And then after Friday night, there's going to be some really good teams head to off season, some great coaches heading into off season. They just spent everything they had since January getting these teams in position. It's just transitional time, but the most exciting time for high school football next week, people are going to be practicing on Turkey Day. And there's nothing better in high school football than go out there on a Thursday morning and practice with your team. It's just a special deal. So for me, it's more of the moments, being able to coach the way we've been in it. This is a very special time of year, and I know people get all worked up when teams are getting eliminated at this point, and man, it's just appreciate the wins, appreciate the opportunities, and really enjoy the high school game of football on Friday night because it's really special for your community. And then best of luck to the coaches moving on to Turkey Day and the other coaches going back, getting reacquainted with your family on a Sunday, going in seeing your wife. And you throw her routine off on a Sunday and she's going, what are you doing? Can you not go back to the office? Because you're messing up her Sunday routine. But those are the things that really stand out to me going into this weekend.
Well, that's the truth. And all these games are going to be outstanding. I'm interested to see some of these long trips. Talking about Prescott going to Salem and, how you go on the road and how you got to be, your game and focus got to be at a high level. But there's going to be some great games. Well, let's reflect back real quick. Last week, Daryl, you were 7-3. Mouth, you were 8-2. I was 9-1, and Coach Lenny was 8-2. We'll keep these stats, Coach Wood. We'll be checking your work and putting this out for everybody to see next week. So, hey, we appreciate you coming on, being our Lindsay Associated guest. We're going to send you a $100 gift card from All-American Steakhouse there in Springdale. Great place to eat there all the time. I think you've been there a few times yourself, but we appreciate you coming on.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me, and I got to catch myself. I was acting like coaches playing in Springdale on Friday night. It's, North Little Rock girls. I don't know when they play. I mean, I'm keeping up with Springdale.
We play Tuesday at home.
Yeah. So, I mean, I caught myself and I thought, man, I just screwed that up. It's going to be there for everybody to see. Coach, you handled that well, though. Your reaction.
Nobody's listening.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, before we get off, I want to thank our sponsors, powered by Lindsay & Associate, All-American Steakhouse there in Springdale, the Pigs brand. Hey, guys, also got merch out there. Go on YouTube. We got sweatshirts, hats. Get on there and get some merch. Also, hit that like and subscribe button. We're also on X, Coaches Pod, and Instagram as Coaches Pod. Well, for Coach Jeff Williams, Coach Daryl Fimple, the mouth print bender, and our guest picker, Coach Chris Wood, we'll see you next time.